Jason says the debut is too doorsy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Listography. Kramzer here with Joe, and today we are taking on the album rankings of The Doors. Probably noticed Jason is absent. We all like to take some time off from time to time, and Jason thought it would be smart to do it during the week. We do an artist that he absolutely despises. So I'm sure he's praying that we don't land on the same number one, although I have a feeling we might. That way, he wouldn't have to come in and listen to a little bit to make the final decision for the Triple Crown. What are your thoughts on The Doors, my man?
I like The Doors. I like them more now than I did when I started the listening for all this listography, which is odd. Usually I find myself liking bands that we do a little less just because I get tired of them. But The Doors have, fewer albums. It's not a Neil Young type discography. And they're pretty much all in their prime, other than the ones we'll get to without Morrison. It's a 4-year period where it was just kind of them cranking out their best material. So I think all their albums are pretty decent. Some are great. So I like them. I like the sort of, the juxtaposition between Jim Morrison's kind of like menacing vocals and the like carnival circusy piano. I think it's a cool sound. So I'm excited to do this. Just mano a mano with you, Kramzer.
Yeah, I like The Doors a lot. I love some of their stuff. I do, to me, think they're a bit of a songs band rather than an albums band, but there are some at the top of my list that I consider classics. Probably none of them are in my top favorite albums of all time, but there are some undeniable just gems, and to me the thing that is the best about The Doors is their sound and their style, which no one else really comes close to. Like you said, like that bluesy psychedelic carnivalness with the organ, and he's everyone's favorite drunken buffoon poet, except Jason. But let's get right into it. Admittedly, I have not, before getting into this, didn't hear the three post Morrison passing away, 2 of which he's not on, and the other one with his spoken word poetry, American Prayer, recorded in 69-70. So those 3 were a fresh listen for me. But what do you got? We're doing 9 studio albums. What do you got at number 9?
Number 9, I have possibly the worst album I've ever listened to, and that would be Other Voices. Just the 3 non-Morrison records are just so terrible. The vocals on Other Voices are it's some of the worst I've ever heard. I can't believe they put this to tape. Neither Manzarek or Krieger can sing a lick, and it should have been obvious right from the get-go. Tough to listen to, just bad songs, bad performances. They don't even, it's not even interesting. You'd think they'd be able to kind of cover up the bad vocals with some interesting instrumentals and some, solos, stuff like that. But they really just kind of go for like the whole thing. They're not compensating at all. And it's just god awful. It's really, really unfortunate that they kept the name The Doors, and like they couldn't just find a different singer. There's millions of people out there who probably would want to sing for The Doors. They could have just picked anyone. It would have been better than this.
Not what I was expecting for your dead last. The one I was expecting is my number 9, which is going to be An American Prayer. Just kind of figured a spoken word poetry album would be your least favorite. It's my least favorite. I'm not as harsh on Other Voices, but I get where you're coming from. I do think there's at least a little bit of some interesting musical elements to it. But this one is just a bit taxing. I don't outright hate it. It's just a bad album to me. It's not like a despisable one. Some of the poetry is cool. Some of his imagery is cool. He touches on, life and sex and religion the way his crude ass can. But it's just not that interesting all the way through. And it's really, really rude that they do this awesome live version of Roadhouse Blues in the middle of it that just makes you want that. And it's not. It's a cruel trick in the middle of a fairly lousy album. So my number 9 is going to be American Prayer.
Yeah, just because it's not last on my list doesn't mean I like it either. And I do kind of wrestle with the idea of, they basically just took his voice and slapped it over recordings, which usually I'm pretty much against. Normally that would be my last place, but I just hated other voices. And my number 8, Full Circle, that much. Full Circle doesn't remedy any of the problems that other voices had. They still can't sing. The Mosquito is one of the worst tracks I've ever heard in my life. And it's more awfulness. I couldn't wait to get done with this album. It's just a travesty. Again, just terrible stuff. Full Circle. I have nothing good to say about it. I was hopeful maybe, they would have corrected some of the problems with other voices, but they don't. And it is my 8th. And, these bottom 2 are 2 of the worst albums I've had to listen to during our listography. I was racking my mind trying to think of something I hate more, and I don't think I can.
I don't want to put words in Jason's mouth, but the fact that Morrison is not on these probably would put them in like his top 3 or 4 favorite albums. Full Circle is my number 8. It's a little more upbeat and boogieing and perky than Other Voices, but yeah, you're completely right. The singing and the vision and it's just not there. Although I do think that there's some cool musicalness to it. And I have it as a note that the Mosquito was at least interesting to me. I was intrigued by it. I'd probably say that the first song on the album is probably my favorite, which is Get Up and Dance, but none of them really come close. And I think all 3 of these albums are probably in our bottom 3, I'm going to guess. But they're just not the Doors without Jim Morrison, which is not to say that he makes the Doors, but when they're all together, it's just amazing. But there is a gaping hole. They didn't even make an effort to replace him or at least change. They just really threw in the towel. So Full Circle is my number 8.
Number 7 for me is an album that a longtime Doors producer called A Rape of Jim Morrison, and that is An American Prayer. Just a bad album. Shouldn't have been made. Nothing interesting. I mean, I like some of Jim Morrison's poetry. I don't think he's a total buffoon. I think he's interesting, but it's just not an album, really. And only because I hate the other 2 so much does this make number 7. Nothing good. Nothing more to say about it, other than the great version of Roadhouse Blues. But that doesn't count, really. It's a live version. I don't know.
Number 7 for me is going to be Other Voices. I consider this the best of the 3 post-Morrison death. There's some decent songs. Ships with Sails is okay. Tightrope Ride is all right. But again, the singing is really elementary and lackluster. And, nothing more, just barely better than Full Circle, and I don't have any other critiques. Just not the Doors without Morrison. So I kind of felt like that would be both of our 7, 8, and 9, right around there. So let's get into the much better stuff, starting with your number 6.
My number 6, and really all these 6 are pretty good. Other than my number 1, I think 2 through 6 are pretty close to each other. But this one, my 6th place, is LA Woman. And I think the problem with it is just it's a little too long. The songs the first couple albums, the songs 2-3 minutes. They just, whisk by. Even if you don't like a song, it's done, it's over with soon. These kind of drag on. The Changeling, LA Woman's way too long. It's 7 minutes and 50 seconds. Lover Madly's a pretty good single. It's sort of in that same classification as Hello, I Love You and People Are Strange. A good radio hit. Riders on the Storm is really cool, menacing song. But their cover of Crawling King Snake, could go without. The Wasp could do without. Cars Hissed by My Window is sort of just too much bad poetry. And it didn't capture me kind of the way the other ones did. I kind of felt like they were winding down a little bit at this point. So it's my 6. I don't dislike it, but I just think it's slightly worse than their other albums.
I don't dislike any of the rest of these 6, but I do think they get much stronger as my list goes up. Number 6 for me is going to be The Soft Parade, which is a little weak for me, other than Touch Me, which is an amazing song. It comes off as really segregated, like you can tell which one's Krieger wrote, you can tell which ones Morrison wrote. Like Krieger's trying to do this new kind of, you know, big, like bombastic pop music with a lot of horns and stuff, which I think is the better stuff on the album. And then it just kind of brings down with Morrison's, you know, just classic Morrison, like Shaman's Blues and Easy Ride and stuff like that. So to me, it's kind of like a 50-50 album, and they should have just went all in with Krieger's vision and made it all like that. And I don't like Tell All the People as an opener at all. It sounds immediately like the album's ending as soon as you listen to it. It's got like this finale type feel to it. So that kind of like just puts me in the wrong mindset right off the bat. I like Wishful, Sinful quite a bit, and then the Soft Parade at the end is just far too long. So I think this one is decent. There's some good stuff on it. I don't even know if I think I recommend it, but it's definitely a step above 7, 8, and 9. So number 6 for me is the Soft Parade.
Interesting. My number 5, moving on here, I got Strange Days, and I know everybody loves this one. This one came out 67, so it's the same year as The Doors, but it kind of felt to me like they, other than Love Me Two Times and People Are Strange, which I really like, everything else seemed like sort of rejects from their first album. When the Music's Over's, you know, they had this tendency to put super long songs at the end of the albums, but it always kind of drags it down for me. And that's almost a third of the album is that last song. And nothing else just grabbed me off this one. I was a little disappointed in this one over the other ones, but Strange Days is good. Love Me Two Times is great. People Are Strange is amazing. And none of the other songs are necessarily bad. They're just, you know, they're missing something for me. It doesn't have that bluesy kind of hard rock feel that The Doors has. So it's a good album, but just didn't quite grab me. Strange Days, my number 5.
My number 5 is going to be Waiting for the Sun. I like a good bit of the stuff on here. Spanish Caravan is beautiful. 5 to 1. Hello, I Love You. But the whole thing has this big, just kind of like boring lull in the middle for me, and it's not too musically interesting. There's not a lot of notable chord structures or melodies or, you know, memorable musical elements. I don't know how else to say it. The whole album is kind of like this meditative, like in touch with nature and like all about the earth and mother earth and all of this stuff and the seasons. And, you know, you get that stretch from Not to Touch the Earth, Summer's Almost Gone, Wintertime Love, Unknown Soldier, and everything's just so kind of slow moving and sluggish, and I think it really hurts the album. But I think they're kind of the king of closers. Other than the Soft Parade, I feel like all of their albums end with a great song, and this one ends 5 to 1, which is under 5 minutes. You'll be pleased to know. I know sometimes they do end with those huge like epics, but this one is also a little tighter than most of the stuff they were doing. You know, I think the longest song on it is 5 to 1, which is still under 5 minutes. But some of the songs that are only 3 minutes kind of seem like they go on forever. So the songwriting's just not as good as their other albums, and it gets a little bit boring for me, but I do really like kind of the hazy sound of it, so I dig it. So Waiting for the Sun, number 5.
Okay, well, it looks like we have very differing lists other than probably Converge at number 1. Because I've Soft Parade at 4, but I really liked it, and it was almost my 3. I went back and forth. I had to keep emailing Jason about my list. Wrote him one, and then I was like, can we switch this one? And then I wrote him back, well, change it back. As I was listening throughout the day today, couldn't make up my mind. But Soft Parade is going to come in at 4. I like the orchestration. I love Touch Me. Might be their best song. Wishful Sinful is a cool, kind of in that same vein. There's some orchestration going on. Runnin' Blue has this kind of bluegrass country little chorus, which I like. I pretty much like all the songs on here other than the Soft Parade, the big 8-minute, 30-second ender. And maybe, you know, the lyrics, and Jim Morrison was a little detached at this point, drugs and all that. So I like the way the orchestration kind of hide some of the deficiencies that way. I think Krieger does a good job with most of the songs. Whenever Morrison was coherent enough to write, you know, Wild Child, Easy Ride, Do It, Shaman's Blues. Not his best work, but I think this might be Krieger's best work as far as songwriting. So I liked it. I liked it a lot. Almost my 3rd. And all these, you know, Strange Days, maybe take it or leave it, but from Soft Parade on up, I definitely recommend these albums. So Soft Parade, a strong number 4 for me.
I'm in the same boat with my number 4 being a strong album and stuff I recommend on up. Mine is Strange Days. Not nearly as good as the debut. It kind of does sound a little bit like Leftovers, but I don't think I agree with that. The songwriting's not as strong, but I think the mood of the album's really cool. It's getting a little darker and weirder, and if the first album is kind of like the main attraction of their circus, this one is kind of like the freak show on the side. A little bit seedier, a little bit weirder, maybe a little bit more drug infused at times. The songs are kind of short and sweet, which I like, and then you get that big epic 10-minute plus ender with When the Music's Over. But Strange Days, Love Me 2 Times, Moonlight Drive, People Are Strange, a lot of really good songs on it, just 3 better. So my number 4 is Strange Days.
Well, my number 3 is going to be Waiting for the Sun. I really like this album. I think it's their most consistently good, maybe all the way through, other than the debut. I like kind of the pop, the Baroque touches on stuff like Wintertime Love and Summer's Almost Gone. And Hello, I Love You's great. Single, 5 to 1, probably has Krieger's best solo in it. Very kind of cool. It was also sampled by Jay-Z on his Blueprint album in a very cool song. A diss on Nas, which is actually where I first heard the song, and I didn't realize it was a Doors song till later. But everything else, Spanish Caravan's cool. No weak tracks on this one for me. I pretty much like it all. It just doesn't kind of have the heights that number 2 and number 1 have for me. So strong album. Number 3, Waiting for the Sun.
I will take Nas over Jay-Z every day of the week, but let's stick to the Doors for now. I've got LA Woman at number 3. I like it a good bit. It's got like this nice sexuality and swagger to it. It's not as bright as the earlier stuff, and it's kind of, to me, like Morrison's last hurrah. Like, he sounds and seems really hungover through this whole album, but it kind of gives this cool dragging laziness to it, which I think really works. And the big hits off of it with Riders on the Storm and LA Woman and Love Her Madly, Changeling's good. And then I do think this has some of their more underrated songs like The Wasp and Hyacinth House, and I dig Been Down So Long, which I think is kind of the one that, what I was talking about with that like drunken laziness, is the one that comes off the most for me. I don't think I agree that some of it is too long. I kind of like it that a lot of it is a bit more ambitious, and it's just kind of got, at times, some of the playing on it is really tight, which I really dig, and I would have loved them to be in a better place after this album and see what they came up with. I'm kind of surprised you had this low. I thought LA Woman would be a collective top 3 for us, but it is what it is. LA Woman, number 3 for me.
Yeah, I think it just sort of, here's my number 2, Morrison Hotel. Kind of has the same feel to me as LA Woman, but with tighter, stronger songwriting. Roadhouse Blues, kind of a return to that Doors sound from the debut album. Maybe their most heavy blues influenced song. Waiting for the Sun has some really cool, like hard rock elements, but also that cool piano sound. Peace Frog, great song. Blue Sunday, Ship of Fools. That first half, the Hard Rock Cafe, as it's known, is just dynamite, top of the line Doors songs. No bad tracks there. The second half's a little weird. Land Ho, The Spy, Queen of the Highway. Kind of, that's like Morrison's side, side 1 sort of the Robby Krieger hard rock side, and side 2 is a little more poet, Jim Morrison, but Maggie McGill's a pretty cool closer, and it's just a really strong album. They kind of went back from the symphonic pop that they were messing around with on Soft Parade, and kind of went back to what people wanted from the Doors, which is that blues, hard rock, but still maintaining that cool kind of piano, and harpsichord, clavichord, whatever Ray Manzarek was using at the time. So very strong album, solid number 2, and I believe I'm betting it's your number 2 as well.
It is. It is. Morrison Hotel is my number 2. You know, you pretty much hit all of my notes here. It's back to basics. You know, Soft Parade, I don't think they loved, critics didn't love, fans didn't really love. So they kind of made a safe choice to that hard rock, blues, old school kind of feel they did. And the first half is great. The second half is pretty good. I do like The Spy, Queen of the Highway, and again, maybe The King of the Closers with Maggie McGill. So nothing much more to add. And it does seem like we have a potential triple crown. Our number 1, it looks like, is going to be the self-titled debut, The Doors. Let's weigh in with Jason to see if it is an official triple crown. Jason?
Sorry, guys, no triple crown. My favorite Doors record is The Soft Parade.
Okay, well, The Doors. Debut album, what are you thinking? Why is it your number 1?
Well, it just pretty much has all the components I'm looking for in The Doors. It's kind of this menacing, the menacing vocals. There's a heavy blues element, something like Backdoor Man, which is a kind of, is a Willie Dixon song recorded by Howlin' Wolf. And it just has this extra with, Morrison's kind of barking, evil sounding vocals, that really cool piano sound. It's just something that no one had ever heard before. Even to this day, nobody really sort of replicated that sound. You have a great hard rock element right off the bat on Break On Through. But they can do other stuff. The Crystal Ship's a cool ballad. 20th Century Fox is this like pop song. And then they, jump over to Alabama song, Whiskey Bar, which is a German, song from a play or a musical or something like that. And it's just got this great menace to it. Everything, it's like Pleasure Island in Pinocchio. It's, on the surface, everything looks kind of happy, but underneath there's like this dark undercurrent that Jim Morrison kind of lays on there. But everything on here is great. Light My Fire is awesome. The only song, and this is what kept it off my top 5 in 1967, is The End. I don't like that kind of long, rambling, it doesn't do it for me. 11 minutes, it's a little too long for me to listen to Jim Morrison ramble on about God knows what. And that's really the only thing holding it back for me from being basically a perfect album. I'd still give it 5 out of 5 stars, but I usually skip the end. I'm not going to lie.
Thank you for your honesty. The end, closing it off, is one of my favorite things about it because it just truly shapes every aspect of The Doors. And like you were saying, how it jumps around and, you get that twisted, bizarreness on Alabama song. And to me, just like crafting the sound of this psychedelic blues, cabaret, carnival, kind of evil at times. And you were really right about Morrison sounding really powerful and menacing. He did not come close to matching his vocal performance on any other album after this one. I hate to say it. I mean, there are moments, I think his vocals on Touch Me are amazing, but he seems really excited to be a member of the music community on this album and to be with The Doors. And nothing ever quite kind of reaches these heights again. It's one of the best debuts of all time. I don't really think there's a bad song on it. I think Light My Fire is a little overrated. I didn't even really consider it for my top 10, but I do like it. But yeah, everything on this album is fantastic. And I think this is an easy runaway winner for the best Doors album. Any closing thoughts?
I don't know. I mean, The Doors, I'm surprised that no one sort of replicated that sound ever. They were only around for 5 years, sold a lot of records, made a lot of fans, and they kind of remain sort of a, unique entity in the world of rock music, which I guess is good, but it is too bad that we only got the 6 real albums from them. Would have liked to see where they went. Probably had a lot more music in them. Sucks that Jim Morrison died, but they made some great music while he was here and some terrible music after he was gone.
Well said. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to Listography. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. Check out down below for contact and social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. And let us know what you're thinking about The Doors. I know they're kind of a divisive group. People that love The Doors are really beholden to their stuff. Be interested to know if you diehard Doors fans also like the last 3 albums. So let us know what you're thinking. This is Joe and Kramzer, and we will see you next time.